is on, go ahead.
That's it. There's a motion to waive the land development for Green Allies.
Thank you.
Did you get the, good to go. New business. Yeah, thank you, George, appreciate it, comment. New business F, this is one that Chad's done some work on, has to do with the street.
E, Moyer Road. E, Moyer Road, the 2024. That's what we're
I think
on.
you were on it, but he
Okay.
said,
He said,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
so I was making sure he wasn't skipping one. We all work, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so for the, you talk the Moore Road project,
Yes.
right?
Yes. that's
Okay.
what we're on.
Which one, Michelle have that one, or?
Yeah, I got that
Oh,
one.
go ahead, Michelle.
So, as you know, Chad did a lot of work in searching out different options for, 2024 road improvements for West Moyer Road. His recommendation is option 2 for the cold in place recycling. So what I need from the board is just a authorization to advertise for bid for the 2024 road project for West Moyer Road for the cold in place recycling.
Option two, right?
Option 2, is that what I said? Yeah, option 2.
Hearing, motion on that, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now it's F on the street sweeper.
Yeah.
All right, this is another one Eric has been working on, so Michelle, you wanna give one of the word on that one?
Yeah, so, there was money allocated in this year's budget for street sweeping, which hasn't been done in quite some years, so Chad went out and obtained 3 quotes for street sweeping, and he's asking for authorization to hire R&S Sweeping Company LLC for $1,200 per day, not to exceed $7,000, which is the amount in the budget.
Okay, this is the research done by Chad, and also, we had budgeted that piece for the sweeper, and I think as you read through that, you'll find that he wants to see how well that actually goes. And he's actually highlighted in there, if you do see that the places that will actually be engaged. Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yep. Yeah.
All right, I'll need a motion on that
Just
one.
a question, will that be kind of like advertised on the website? I saw the list, I know it was with his report, will that eventually, after everything's,
Yeah, once we
Sign
have the
everything.
dates and we know the areas, then we'll post information.
okay,
Yes.
great.
All right.
The list was extensive.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so you had a motion, we have a second.
We did, Jade second.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, you want to make it be heard on this?
Yes, I have a question on that.
It was not a question, you come up here and make a comment.
I was hoping they would do Steinmetz Road because it's so rough. There's a lot of large rocks, and maybe it would help. I know when Frank used to run the sweeper around on the back of a tractor, it did help.
Steinmetz Road?
The road's real rough and needs to be repaved, but if if it could be swept, it would get rid of the large rocks in the middle of the road.
So you can, so we can put that down and then we'll ask Chad if that's feasible.
Yeah, I'll check with Chad on that. That's not one of the areas on his list, but I think, you know, he's not sure because he's never been here for it. It hasn't been done in a while, so it's all gonna matter, you know, how much they can get done and the amount that we have allotted.
Okay, so we did have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right, new business G, that is the request for pavilion for a community day function. Michelle?
Yep, so we have a request again this year from Hopewell Community Church to utilize Heather Place Park for Community Day, which is scheduled for Saturday, September 28th. And the reason you have to approve this is because part of our ordinance requires that if you answer yes to any of the questions on what you will be having or doing, it has to go to the Open Space Board, and then also approved by the Board of Commissioners. The Open Space Board did review this application at their meeting this month and they did approve, so Greg signed off, now the Board of Commissioners has to approve as well.
So I need a motion on that action. New business G on the application.
I'll make that,
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second and concur with the open space.
Okay, any more further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. New business H, this is a conceptual plan for our Green Allies and the new property we have up there. In your packet, I think also you see the highlights of the improvement for that particular piece of property. And then on the back side of it actually has a strip map of that as well. George, did you want to add something to this overall plan? Would you like to go through those highlight points?
I can go through it briefly. It's mostly an open meadow, but we're refurbishing those 2 buses that are on or near the property now to use as small classrooms, in addition to the classroom build out. But, I mean, Ken's got all kinds of plans, but again, outdoor meeting space for visiting, students, et cetera. So, for the most part of that, and also the trail will be completed, a whole loop for the trail will go 360. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
And then, Open Space Committee's fine with their position. Okay, good. Questions from the commissioners to George? Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make that motion, concur with open space.
I'll second.
Here in a second. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Thank you again.
Motion carries. Thank you, George. New business I. This is the grant application. Michelle?
So we'd like authorization from the board to apply for a $30,000 grant application from Pottstown Area Health and Wellness Foundation with a $5,000 township match if we, which is a potential for us to get reimbursement for that through another grant. So you do have in your packet an overview. This is for the Holland Block, this is for the Trail Connection Plan Engineering for the township. And you have overview in your packet from the Open Space Committee. So we need a motion to authorize applying for the Health and Wellness Grant for the engineering study for trail connections.
You said there's an overview, what, I didn't see this? No. Just, this,
Yeah.
crowd
Just
funds,
gives you an
okay, overview,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So this is just to complete the engineering, not to actually do the
Move
work
it
to
forward
connect the
yet.
trails. Correct.
Okay.
More discussion, or more questions before we move into the motion? Do I have a motion on this act?
Mm. Hmm.
Further questions and
Yeah, I have a question, just because I saw this afternoon, I couldn't remember. Number 4 presents an issue to me. Just because I don't wanna specifically say why. Are we going to do all of these, or are we just going to do some of these? You understand what I'm saying?
So what you're doing is you're authorizing a grant, to apply for a grant for the
Yeah.
engineer to do a study on the best way to connect the trails, basically. So there could be another alternative for number 4, but you're not actually authorizing the trail connections to be completed. This is just for the engineer to do the study of how we're gonna connect the trails, correct, Greg? Yes.
Yeah, and this is only for the Sprogel's Run Trail. It doesn't have anything to do with any of the county trails, which would be Goose Run on that side. This would just be to get us from Prout Farm down to Sunset Park. And the major issues driving everything is where PennDOT's gonna allow us to cross Mauger's Mill Road. Depending upon where that is, there could be 5 or 6 different scenarios of how the trail has to go.
Okay, so this isn't really gonna cost us anything, but 5,000 possibly.
Correct. Yes.
that maybe if we don't get the match.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Hearing a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. Last item is the public hearing on purchase of a property on 2290 Gilbert Road. Solicitor will run that hearing and then it'll be an act to follow. Sir?
Thank you. So we'll open the hearing, and the hearing is being held pursuant to section 5006 of the Open Space Act for the township's acquisition of 2290 Gilbertsville Road within the township, which is parcel number 60-00-01093-00-8. The hearing was advertised in the Mercury, and written notice was provided to the property owner. The property consists of 9.51 acres along with improvements. The township intends to acquire the property for $500,000 with the use of open space funds. The township believes that the acquisition of the property will yield certain open space benefits, which include, among others, the promotion of sound, cohesive, and efficient land development by preserving open space between communities. I can now open up the floor for the purpose of the hearing, which is to receive public comment regarding the use of open space funds for the purpose of purchasing this property. Is there any public comment?
This is the property of Moyer and Gilbertsville.
Yes, correct, yes. Correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
I saw your hand first, so.
Jim Kapinski, 1958 Yarnell Road. I'm against using the open space tax money to buy this land, only because we know what happened to the smaller farm when we used the tax money to buy that. Plus, if we would use the open space tax money to buy this land, we would not be able to move the proposed municipal complex to this site once the court rules against the township on the smaller property. So if you buy it with the general fund, you can then use this property for the proposed municipal complex once the court rules against the township on the smaller farm. Thank you.
Joe Ganji, 1998 Yarnell Road. I just have a question. This is the property on the corner of Moyer Road and Gilbertsville Road, that farmhouse?
Yes.
Why does it have a sold sign on it?
Well, we're in the process of buying it.
I'm sorry?
We're in the process of buying it. We're under
It
agreement.
says sold, past tense.
No.
The realtor decided to put the sign on.
Yeah.
Okay, so it isn't sold.
No,
It is not.
We didn't put it
Thank you.
Not our sign.
Was there another hand, or? Okay, well, thought I saw one more, just it was behind head, so I couldn't see it.
Keith Cal, 1941 Gilbertsville Road. Are you gonna be using county money for that too, grants and stuff?
No.
No, it's strictly from the Upper Pottsgrove funds, open space funds. That's wrong then.
All right, with seeing no other hands, we can close the public comment portion of the hearing, and then we go to a vote on the topic. And what I would ask for is a motion for the approval of the purchase, the execution of the agreement of sale, the use of open space funds for the purchase, and the authorization of the president, vice president, or secretary to sign the documents necessary for closing.
Need a motion as stated by the solicitor?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, further discussion?
I have thought about this a lot, and in the beginning, I just want to mention the alternate site committee. This was a property that was identified to move the building to. And, we didn't even discuss it. It was just, we didn't discuss anything in the alternate site, study that Dave and I initiated. I feel we're depleting the open space fund. We just purchased property to benefit the Arboretum, which I 150% agree with. We're asking the open space fund to pay back the general fund because we've paid off their loan, their debt. I just think we should purchase it with general funds, and we should move the building there, and all this mess would just go away. It's not a discussion, that's just my opinion.
Others?
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick comment, and first of all, I wanna thank past board commissioners, for getting us in the financial position where we can move fast on a property. My date may be wrong, but I believe we discussed this in January in exec session, we were all agreeing this is a great opportunity. We went to make an inquiry on the property and it was sold to a developer. That deal fell through, and, again, having 500,000 in reserve for targets of opportunity like this, we moved very fast on this. I don't like moving fast on properties like this, but we had to. I think this is one of the nicest properties in town. And, speaking to Greg on this, it has added value because it's next to another piece of property we already own, just like when we bought the Kale property. Again, I wanna thank previous boards, that includes Kathy, Dave, and Trace, who kinda get this ball rolling on getting us financially sound and able to do this. Most municipalities would not be able to do this, they would have to go for bonding the loans or whatever, which takes months. I think this is a great opportunity. I also asked maybe the public, that property, I don't know the history of that property, I know it was built in 1850. It's along the road, and I guess Gilbertsville Road was a main road at one point. It'd be really neat to see if anybody has old pictures of that property, what it looked like. I'm curious to see if there's a stone front underneath that stucco. And we've already had unofficial discussions about applying for grants for maybe restoring that farmhouse. But it's a great opportunity for the town, and I appreciate the previous boards and getting us in the financial position to move fast. Thank you.
Others? And just to review the balance sheet for open space fund, it's 1.262 million with, at our discretion, a 1.7. So about 2.9 minus, say, the 500 for this. 250's already for the Kale property has been taken out. So about 2.4 million with our discretion on what we're going to use for the payback piece. So we have the finances that are well in place. I need a motion on the action on the, we have on the, you had the motion. And a second. Other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Against?
Nay.
Against.
Against?
Yes.
One.
No, I
Oh, 3-2, okay. Alright.
So we can close the hearing and go back into the regular agenda then.
Very good.